When ageism catches up with you when you're a music producer, artist, let me know in the comments, how old do you think you should be when you should quit making music? This video here is done by a guy named I Used to Be Paid. It is directly directed towards Lil Uzi Vert. There is a problem with him having an age problem, but let's go ahead and get started.
What's good, YouTube? It's Justice, I Used to Be Paid, and today I'm back with another video. And in this video, we're going to be talking about Lil Uzi's ageism catching up to him. But before I get into that, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Do all those things. It helps me out a ton. Gen Z is a very ageist generation. We hate all things that are old. In Gen Z, if you are over the age of 20, you're ancient, bro. Like, you might as well just get ready to go ahead and get in that box and go 6 feet under, because your life is over once you hit 20. Like, you ever...
What? That's crazy. Let me know in the comments if you think like that. If you're 21, 25, or something like that. I think last time I checked on my analytics, most of my audience was around 25, 35. Let me know in the comments how old you are.
You ever see those videos of those like kids or those basketball players in college when they're like, how old do you need to be considered to be old nowadays? And they're like, ah, man, 24. You know, what year do you need to be born in to be considered old? And they're like, 2003. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, on
That's
TikTok,
crazy.
You would think
2003. Yeah, think about this, right? Honestly, I'd probably say people who grew up in the 1990s are probably thinking the same thing. That's crazy.
I'm the oldest man on the planet. I'm not going to tell you my exact age, but I'm in between the years of 20 and 26. And they always tell me to go start a family. You're unk now. Let it go, bro. You're not a kid anymore. Why are you making TikTok? Like, you would think I'm the oldest person to ever step foot on earth.
That's crazy.
And even though Uzi he is a younger millennial, he acted just like this when he was on his come up. He would constantly talk about his age. He would talk about the difference between himself and the older generation of rappers, or the older generation.
Cats to see what y'all really built.
Hey,
though.
you heard me? I'm
really
too young.
Friends
Your
off-
fans gonna be disappointed. All the old guys.
Of hip hop. He would talk about how him and his generation are doing things different.
There goes his problem right there. He's focusing on people being old and stuff like that. When you're in the music, just focus on the music. Why are you focused on that? I could understand like maybe having like that mindset, I guess, like just wanting things to be new, but it's kind of easy to see where his mindset is when he keeps projecting that onto other people. Like, hey, the old heads are not gonna like this. Like, they could probably like it. In my opinion, he should be a little bit more positive about it versus like, he don't even know some people are probably playing his music in the cookout. Like, I personally done that, like added his music in like a playlist or something like that. I never heard one person say, yo, turn that Uzi off.
And he heavily valued that youth. And he would say to all the older people, if you're not going to get with the program, then you just need to go ahead and get out the way. Yet now, Uzi is of the age of the people that he used to call old. And I think that he's actually in a very interesting part of his career now. Lil Uzi is a founding member of this generation of rap. A lot of the trends, fashion, and music really got to start
like, how old is Uzi
and his
now?
come up. It still feels a bit weird to say since this is like my high school era of music, but Uzi is an OG at this point. He's been around for like over a decade now as a major player in the rap scene. This gimmicky rapper from Philadelphia with purple dreads and strange outfits.
Y'all remember y'all remember those times he wore those fits? Let me know in the comments if you had a fit like that back in the day. With some skinny jeans, like, don't lie, bro. I think I seen a couple fits like that back in high school.
And even stranger music actually lasted 10 years instead of falling off like a lot of the media members said he would when he was on his rise. He's now 31 years old and now at a point in his career where he is an elder statesman.
Wait, he's
and while
what?
I wouldn't say his career is in a...
He's 31 years old right now. I'm not gonna lie, I'm 32. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but yeah, that's crazy. That's not that old. I don't think that's old.
Complete state of flux. There definitely isn't a laid out path for him at the moment, and the future, the near future especially, is up in question. Uzi has always seen himself as the young guy coming in with all the sauce, throwing a wrench into the game. You know, innovating sounds and styles, almost starting a revolution in hip-hop. And he was right to believe those things about himself. But now he's the older, established guy who isn't really trailblazing or breaking any new ground anymore. In fact, his style that was seen as so chaotic and so new and so out there has been adapted by so many people that came behind him. He's not even really seen as super different anymore. He doesn't stick out like a sore thumb like he used to in the past. There was a time when Uzi was so new and everything that he was doing was so different that everything he did was either copied or it was heavily debated upon as the worst thing to ever happen in the history of hip hop, or something really cool and something that's going to break open doors for the next generation. Now, I'm not saying that Uzi can no longer innovate in rap after turning 30 or being over the age of 30, but it just doesn't come as easy for him as it once did. It's not as natural as when you're the new guy who's coming in and setting the entire world on fire.
I agree, but I disagree at the same time. Like, yes, he has to innovate. At the end of the day, if you're going to be in this game for more than a decade already, you have to innovate in some way and sound different. Like, I've seen different artists like Playboi Carti be extremely interesting with just doing different things with his voice and different type of genres and different type of themes and stuff like that. You also had Lil Wayne try that as well with like the rock stuff. I'm not gonna hold you. Like, I was a big Lil Wayne fan, but I didn't really like the rock stuff. And you also got Drake. You know, Drake always doing different type of styles and stuff like that. He's always, 1 minute he's Jamaican, 1 minute he's from Toronto. Who knows? I don't know. He got all the accent.
I think we're seeing this reflected in Uzi's music. Lil Uzi's music isn't as dominant as it was 5 to 7 years ago now. In fact, his last 2 albums weren't really super well received unanimously. Now, I will die on the hill that Pink Tape is a good album. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what anyone has to say. You can't tell me anything about that project. I think it's really good. I enjoy the experimental stuff. I enjoy some of the weird, quirky stuff on there. I think it's a ton of fun. But there's no denying that that isn't the total overall kind of summary opinion when it comes to the Pink Tape. Most people in rap really didn't care for it that much. Even some of Uzi's diehard fans didn't really care for that album that much. Now, when we get to Eternal Will Take Two, there's not much I can say for that project. I think that is, I don't want to say a bad album, but it's definitely not a good album. And I think that opinion has been reflected amongst the community.
Honestly, I'm not going to say I remember too much from that album, honestly. The Pink Tape, maybe a few songs, but honestly, I don't remember a lot of the songs being memorable like that. Honestly, I just think, in my personal opinion, he just needs to figure out a way to rebrand, come up with different ways to restyle his whole image, you know, or his whole verbiage or his whole, you know, his whole thing, just like how Playboi Carti did as well. You know, just how Drake did with just different genres. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we need a Lil Uzi Vert Jamaican beat or something. You know what I'm saying? On a Brazilian beat or a Latina beat. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? He need to try something. Try something different.
Whether it's Uzi fans or just fans as a whole, everyone kind of agrees that Eternal Will Take Two was a miss. And I think that not only did the poor reaction from fans kind of get to Uzi a bit, I also think that the low sales did as well, because this album only sold 60K first week, which for Uzi, the guy that Uzi is a very low mark. It's truly an amazing thing that Uzi's career has gone on for this long with this much great music, this much fan support, this many numbers and accomplishments. Like, it's an amazing thing. However, I don't think Uzi ever really thought of himself as like getting older and rapping. And I know that sounds weird because, like, you know, it was only 7 years ago, but still, when you look at the way that he
At the end of the day, we all get older. Like, you know what I'm saying? You got to think about that.
used to talk or look at some of his old tweets, it was like he didn't picture himself rapping at 30 plus. Maybe he thought he would be full time doing the rock star thing, or maybe just moving on to a completely different venture in life. But he would tweet stuff like, oh, you know, if you're older than 25, then you're old, just accept it, or something like that. Or he would tweet things like, if you're 30 and up, you're lame. And now
That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, I guess he's part of the club now at this point. You know what I'm saying?
he is that 30-year-old lame person, I guess, according to his own words.
I told the other people, it's a lot of people I never saw in person. I want to see how they look in person.
Like who?
I don't know. All the old people. I want to see how they look, see how old they look.
And it feels like in his career, he's kind of
Maybe he's referring to health. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't think that was a pretty nice thing to say.
stuck. Like, he just doesn't really know what to do next. Now, of course, this is me looking from the outside in, but I think there's a lot of evidence to prove that based on him saying a whole bunch of different things. Old Uzi, new era. We're going back to 2016. We're doing Barter 1600. Like, there's a lot of different things that he's been saying. So it feels like he's not really quite sure where to go next. And I think that that is a bit weird for him, because Uzi never had to think about what he's going to do next, what his next sound was going to be. Uzi just did. He just did things, and people liked it regardless. So now when he's just doing things and people are kind of like, I don't know about that, Uzi. I think that that is kind of weird for him, and he's not really quite sure how to handle that. Ironically, whenever Uzi tries to like activate his fan base or rejuvenate them, get them excited again, he kind of leans into the old Uzi. He'll say stuff like the old Uzi's coming back, or he'll do a bunch of things that remind people of stuff from back in the day, or, he'll even say he's going to continue a series that people loved in his discography, like Love is Rage. I think that's exactly what happened with EA2. EA2 didn't really need to be a continuation of the original EA. It didn't really feel like it musically, at least to me. Now, of course, he tried to do some things with the aesthetics and, trying to tell the story of now he's in the alien world and he's breaking out or whatever. But that album just didn't really feel like it needed to be EA2, besides nostalgia baiting fans, at least in my opinion. And sometimes he'll even like have his hair dyed purple again to get those 2016 vibes back and have the
some of
fans
that
go
old
crazy.
Nostalgic stuff just wears out. Like it'll be in style all the time. Like you can't keep that up for a decade. With the iPhone, they changed it at least 4 or 5 years. You know what I'm saying? If they did the same thing 10 years, you know what I mean? It'd be like, all right, bro, come on. Like, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying?
When the last two albums came out and they weren't super well received, Uzi tried to like distract us. I don't really know how to describe it, but he's like immediately like, forget about that, I'm dropping new music. And he did that both with the Pink Tape and EA2. And he typically does it with like old.
I do remember that. Like he was like, as soon as the new tape dropped, he's like, oh, that's my old stuff. You know what I'm saying? I got some new stuff that he needs to drop. Like, bro, like we still trying to digest the new stuff. At the same time, a lot of his leaks were also coming out, and that right there just makes things a lot tougher. When you want your best songs on the album and all the crazy stuff came out. But that's also up to Uzi as well, because like you got to be up on your files. I can tell you right now, I know a lot of artists that's not on their files. If I wanted to leak their music, I could do the same thing. So if you ever been to a recording studio within the last 2 or 3 years, can you call back and say, do you still have the files? I promise you majority of the time they're going to say no. That's up to you to keep the files and stuff like that. Like they could be doing what God knows what with those files, and you paid all this money for the beat, the production, and the files and stuff like that, the stems. They could be taking the stems and making another beat with it.
Music. He's like, yeah, guys, I'm gonna drop some Love is Rage 3 for y'all. I'm gonna drop Love is Rage 3, or I'm gonna.
What about Love is Rage 3?
Oh yeah, that's coming. Not too.
Yeah. What fit is this? This is what I'm talking about. He needs to reinvent himself in a different way. So let me know in the comments, what kind of style is this? I don't know. Is this the gothic style? Is this what you can do if you're a gothic person? You put stuff on your face? Let me know in the comments. I don't know. I'm new to this.
Like honestly, I know I used to be lying, but a couple months.
Drop some stuff that sounds like old Uzi. Like it's kind of like his tactic of like getting what I guess is the heat off of him for dropping a project that a lot of people didn't like. When he dropped Pink Tape and, there was a lot of mixed reviews, a lot of people weren't liking it, some people were, he immediately came out and said, hey, y'all, I'm about to drop Barter 1600, which was supposed to be his version of Young Thug's Barter 6, which is Young Thug's version of the Carter series from Lil Wayne, which, it's a really long thing that just, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, he was like, oh yeah, Barter 1600 on the way. And he was posting a bunch of snippets and doing like Young Thug cosplay. It was kind of strange. But then after that, he was like, hey y'all, if y'all get the Pink Tape to, I believe he said if y'all get the Pink Tape to #1, he would drop Love is Rage 3, which, is a historic series in the Uzi catalog. That's probably his strongest series in his discography. So people were like, oh my God, Love is Rage 3, the return to the old Uzi sound. We have to run, and it was like trying to almost distract us from the fact that the conversation surrounding the Pink Tape wasn't completely positive all the way around. And with EA2, he did a very similar thing. EA2 came out and, if you thought the conversation surrounding the Pink Tape was really negative, the conversation surrounding that album was very, very negative. And he immediately was like dropping a snippet on Instagram and people were like, oh my God, the old Uzi's back, the old Uzi's back. I can't believe it. Yeah, this is going to be way better than the album. People were even saying that EA2 was just his last album on the deal, and he was just trying to put an album out there for the label so he can get off his label and then actually drop his real music. Whenever fans have to make up their own theory like that, especially they go to that theory and they say that this album was just a throwaway to get off the label, that's how you know an album's kind of bad, bro.
I do feel like when you have that kind of mindset as far as like someone's album, people are saying like, oh, this, that, and the third. I mean, at the end of the day, like look at the mindset of across Gunna's latest album. People like it versus Uzi Vert's latest album. And then at that same time, he was doing that, telling people, oh, I'm about to drop a new album. And then, we're thinking, I'm about to quit listening to this because he's about to drop something new. You got to be careful with your actions and your words.
Whenever the fans are going out of their way and saying, yo, he dropped this album just to get off his label, it's a throwaway, don't even pay attention to that album, bro, it doesn't matter. That's how you kind of know with the project. It seems like whenever Uzi feels like his music isn't landing the way he wanted,
Rate the fit, gang. Rate the fit.
he
What you
kind of
think?
resorts to nostalgia bait. Not only is his music not being glazed, but it feels like he lacks a bit of confidence in what he's doing. For the Pink Tape, he didn't put out a single music video, and as soon as he got like 2 weeks away from the album, he completely stopped talking about it, stopped promoting it, stopped posting about it. It's like as soon as he drops and it's not loved, he tries to move on as quick as possible. Uzi is far from a lame artist, at least to me. He just now has to be a bit more intentional with what he does. Like he said when he was on the come up with these old guys who had been running around for a minute, they got to get with the program. Uzi is now the guy who might need to get with the program with some of these young guys. Uzi's at a very pivotal point.
I agree. Some of these accidental steps could only get you so far. You got to be a little bit more focused about your intentions and your moves. It gets to a certain point.
I think Uzi is an amazing artist, and if he locks in, he can awaken another prime. He'll pretty much always be relevant, but if he's still able to be a creative mind that people follow into his 30s, that would be super impressive. It is just a bit funny, though, that when Uzi finally starts to hit some rocks in the road in his career is when he gets to the age that he was ridiculing a lot of people for just being. Like, you can't choose your age, but Uzi was really going at people's necks for daring to be born before him. Now, his career could have fallen off in like a few years like Lil Pump or Smoke Perp, and we wouldn't even be having these discussions. So it's not like unheard of to finally have some issues in your career 10 years in, or it's not a bad thing, or it's not, something to try to point the finger at Uzi and be like, oh my God, you're a bum, you fell off. Like, it's none of that. It is just a bit funny, though, that, he was so heavy on his age and youth and all this stuff, and being young was so great, and now that he's, no longer young, at least according to that version of Uzi, even though he's still a young person, like 30 is not old in any way, shape, or form. It's just funny that now his struggles come once he's past the age of 27, and it's just kind of a bit of a full circle moment of like, the power.
Not really that funny, but I would say, in my opinion, at the end of the day, it's kind of like, seeing your favorite company die down a little bit. For an example, like Apple, you know what I'm saying? They haven't been really innovating. They've been kind of putting out the same thing over and over and over. And it's just like, all right, man, like, it's a great product, but what's the newness? Like, what's new about this? The same thing can happen with music. After a certain time, at a certain point, you got to change things up. The style, the flow, whatever you had, maybe you need to change it up to another flow, another style, another beat, another set of type of, maybe you could use the same flow on different beats. I don't know. Think about it. Like, I don't know. Maybe you need to try out some reggae or some other type of drums. Let me know, how long do you think artists should start reinventing their music? After 5 years, do you think, all right, that's a good point where you need to switch things up? Are you still making the same music you was making 10 years ago? Like, let me know in the comments. I don't know. Let me know if you like these style of videos, and make sure you add me on Instagram and TikTok and X. And YouTube says, make sure you click on this video right here. For some reason, the algorithm knows you better than I do. And they know you're going to definitely enjoy this video for some reason. Just check it out. I don't know.